All right, Miles, let's go down to Atlanta and talk Falcons for a little bit. This is a team that has very quietly been active the entire slate of this offseason period. They made a lot of big moves early in the free agency period. They may continue to make some strong moves, and there's some new news that has come out recently that shows the Falcons aren't done making big time moves, and it could be an incredible sign of how good the Falcons look for the future.
Yeah, Nick, and the Falcons really, if you look at it, they've made so many moves in free agency. They've really killed it this offseason. I think the team looks completely different now. It looks very, very strong. You can tell they're wanting to be a solid team. And there's one way to round out this offseason, Nick, and that would be to make some stellar choices in the drafts. And that's why I want to ask the Falcons fans in the comment below where you are in the first round as of right now. Who would you like the Falcons to pick? What do you think rounds this roster off perfectly? Let us know in the comments below. But Nick, I think the Falcons have made another big time move. What do you got for the Falcons?
Yeah, so at this point in free agency, you alluded to rounding out the roster. The Falcons made a lot of key upgrades. They did everything right the early periods of free agency. We had a video talking about that, right? They added some weapons for Ritter. They shored up some issues on the back end of the defense. Now we're at the end of March, right? You're just trying to round out the roster and find some key guys to maybe fill out the roster, maybe add some good leadership, some positional players, things like that. That's exactly what the Falcons did. It's been confirmed by multiple reports at this point that they have successfully brought in former Baltimore Raven Calais Campbell on a one-year deal to join the Atlanta Falcons. Campbell, of course, is a former Walter Payton Award winner, great leader, great player, veteran's been in the game a long time, still productive. I think had 5.5 sacks last season for the Ravens. But I think what Campbell did here is an even bigger sign than just adding him to the Falcons roster. And this is from Yahoo Sports here. Talking about the Campbell signing. Opinions are everywhere, but the ones that often ring truest come from those with some skin in the game. And that's why it rings out that on Wednesday, veteran defensive lineman Calais Campbell agreed to a one-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons rather than a slew of other options. Campbell had been rumored to the Detroit Lions. Teams like the Baltimore Ravens wanted to bring him back into the fold. The Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously a team coming off winning a division, winning a playoff game last year, really interested to have Campbell as well. But despite all that, he turned down the Ravens, playoff team. He turned down the Jaguars, obviously a playoff team last season, right? He was in a position to kind of pick wherever he wanted to go to be a potential final piece for a maybe championship contending team. And he chooses the Atlanta Falcons, a team that finished 7-10 last season. Miles, to me, this is the biggest sign, in my opinion, that the Falcons are a whole lot better than people think they are, and they could potentially be a big-time contender next season in a very winnable NFC South. Give me your thoughts on the Falcons, the Campbell signing, and just everything with Atlanta right now.
Yeah, Nick, I know Calais Campbell. I know how he is as a player. I've seen him play on the Ravens the last few years. I'm very intimate with his game, and there's only a few things he has left to do, Nick. This guy is a stellar player. I think he potentially has some, claims to potentially be a Hall of Famer or at least a Hall very, very good guy. But there's only a couple things left in his career that he wants to accomplish. One is get a Super Bowl. Two is get one more sack this season so that he can reach 100 sacks in his career. And three, he wants to pass on his legacy to younger players, Nick. He has been one of the best locker room guys in all of football. He brings energy every game. You see him run out on the field every game. He's going, yes, sir. So Calais Campbell is one of the best locker room guys you could have on your team, regardless of if he is even a shell of the former great player that he was. He brings something to the team just by being there. So for the Falcons to go out, get Campbell, he A, thinks that they have potential to make it far in the playoffs. B, he thinks he can fit into their offense and potentially get that last sack that he needs to get his stats rounded out. And C, he likes the Falcons' defense. He thinks he can bring something character-wise, leadership-wise to the table and teach this new young unit of the Falcons and help them get better, Nick. So I think this is really good news secretly for the Falcons. Not even just the Campbell signing, the implications of what signing him actually means is huge for the Falcons.
And I'll take it one step further. So what was reported yesterday is that Arthur Smith has said Desmond Ridder will be our starting quarterback in 2023, talking about the Atlanta Falcons. That's, of course, the biggest endorsement Smith has ever done for Ridder. So that carries a lot of weight for it, of course, because, Arthur Smith is kind of a curmudgeon. He keeps things close to the vest, doesn't really be outward with his decision-making. The fact that he threw his support behind Ridder at this point means he really means Ridder is the guy. So when you look at what Campbell's options were, and according to Yahoo Sports, he was also looking at and had a visit scheduled to the New York Jets Aaron Rodgers coming to town. Also, the Buffalo Bills, they have Josh Allen. And so, despite that temptation, of course, I talked about the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. Despite having Lawrence, Allen, Aaron Rodgers, most likely, despite having the chances to play with those guys, what does he do? He decides to align with Desmond Ridder. You talk about a ringing endorsement of a young quarterback. I've never seen anything like that. Now, of course, I don't think Campbell at this moment in time says that, hey, Ritter's as good as Aaron Rodgers or as good as Josh Allen, but that definitely, makes you step back and go, this is a guy who knows ball. Obviously, he's been in the NFL a long time, and he is not scared away about Desmond Ridder being the starting quarterback when compared against the Aaron Rodgers, the Josh Allens, and the Trevor Lawrences. That is another great sign for the Falcons going forward. And right now, if I'm an Atlanta fan, I tell you what, the way this offseason has gone, it's just an absolutely outstanding run, and the future looks incredibly bright.